What is up, everyone? Welcome back. How y'all doing out there? I am so sorry. So sorry that we had taken such a long absence from the show. But we had to. Don't want to get too much into it. Don't want to get into the weeds. But, you know, sometimes life gets real and sometimes you just gotta be there for the people that you love and care about, your family, and just be available, you know, for whatever is needed. And so that's what I've been doing for the last month. And yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to get back into the swing of things. So many things to talk about. Before we get into it, want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Simon Flala, and by the way, this is going to be a rusty show. Simon Fly, Pat Calabria, Yamblat, who's in the UK. Thanks for watching the show. I know those of you around the world find it sometimes hard to make it live. Don't sweat it. Show's up, available. I upload it to podcasts. Wherever you find your podcasts, you can find the show. So don't sweat it. You don't have to be here live. But sometimes fun things do happen when the show is live. But welcome, either way. Chuck Bam, Fifi Barbora, Fraser Johnstone, ABG, Sandra McDonald, Swinky McLeod, Morty Matt, Pinzer Lou. What is shaking? Thanks for being here. Bradbury, Brian Ebach. Let's fucking go. Wise Monkey, I'm not here. This isn't happening. You guys, Sandra McDonald out in Australia. You guys, thank you so much. Entropic Horizon, Carl Mann, Jay Roche. It's good to be back. I'm happy you guys are here. Let's get into this, shall we? Because there's been a lot of hilarious things happening. And I've been watching from a distance, half paying attention to everything. I haven't been able to catch up on everything. So I'll just be 100% honest with you on that. So some of these things we may not go too deep into just because I haven't had the time to catch up to everything. But we have, enough to talk about. That is for sure. So let's go ahead and switch to our Lou reviews, our famous, oh boy. Yep, see? This is the rust I was talking about. You see? I did not reset this. Oh, boy. Totally forgot to check this screen, you guys. That's okay, I'll fix it. We'll get this going. Don't you worry, my beautiful people. Thanks for the patience. By the way. All right, there we go. All right, we'll put that there. We'll put that. Let's see here. There we go. All right, we'll do it like that, I suppose. Anyway, I hope you guys had a lovely few weeks away from me. All this other stuff we'll fix for the next show. Don't want to waste too much time. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and lock that into place. All right. So, welcome everybody again. So let's get into some of the bookmarks. Some of the things that I would like to talk about. And man, I've got weeks, at least 3 weeks worth of bookmarks that we could go over. And by the way, this one is hilarious. Let's start here. let's start here because this one was incredible. All right. I'm trying to think about this here for a second. All right. I'm going to go to main camera just because this guy's an absolute psychopath and I don't want, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. The guy's an absolute psychopath. I'll just cover the case here because there's an image and I don't want that image to be used as a reason to get a strike on something because I was scrolling through Twitter. So about on October 4th, around there, early in the month, we got wind that King Milkfart, who's known as Joseph Marinello, and UAP Mike have met in court. And apparently Joseph has sued UAP Mike. Now, I have found, because of this clip that they shared, and this is a clip shared by the King Milkfart Harassment Archive account, and it shows the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and Hampton SS, Palmer District Court, and it's pages 1 of 12, and it's Joseph Marinello versus Michael, name blanked out. It's got a docket number, and the hearing is a two-party notice before the Honorable Michael E. Holkani. And so basically we learn, and I'll play the audio of this, but we learn that Joe has sued UAP Mike. And it's weird that they don't just release all 13 pages of this suit in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I had to do a little digging to find it. I found the court case, and I found sort of the status of the case, and I'm going to share that with you guys here in a few minutes. But let's listen to this part of the the discussion between the judge, Michael, and Joseph.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Hampton.
And this is another thing, like this stupid account. It always is using AI to make voices for these people instead of just, you know what? We can't even use it anyway. Yeah, let's play it.
SS Palmer District Court. Joseph Marinello.
It's got music. This stupid music is gonna kill me. Oh, so yeah. So anyway, there's nothing important in this, but basically, it's just that these guys are in a suit. So now, when I go to when I go to the Massachusetts trial court, let's go back to our Luber using, yeah. And I tell them that I'm not a robot. So let me move this over here again so I don't show what's going on. So we've got court department, Palmer District Court, and it is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Hamden, Palmer District Court, Palmer District Court. Now you can look up to see where this case is. So what I did is I put in dates along with the name of the people And then we got Odgerter. And when we search this, let's see here. Begin date and end date. Oh, okay. Let's go to August first then. We see here that we have a civil case filed by Joseph Marinello. Here's the case number. And it was filed on July 26th of 2024. And it's a suit on foreign judgment. And the case status is open. So when you click on the case number, last time I checked this, we didn't have a huge update. Oh, let's see. We got one here. Okay, so the appearance is filed on the 26th of July. The complaint is filed on the 26th of July. Corporate disclosure statement filed by the party is filed. A statement of damages filed by plaintiff alleging contract action for damages of $25,000 or less. And then original judgment. And then on August 30th, the answer filed by the defendant. And then we just got this update, September 11th. Return of service, a complaint, and summons to Joseph Marinello. Officer service served at last and usual abode. So apparently Joe was served with a summons. Return of on complaint and summons. Okay, so interesting. So that's all I've got so far on this, but I am waiting to see. I mean, this is hilarious. There was something that this account had pointed out earlier about it, just proof of somewhere in the transcript here, which they released part of. They were discussing this part where that makes it look like Joseph Marinello is lying to the judge about harassing people, about his account. And that's the only part that they released. And there's 13 pages, and I've got people looking for it. So I hope they get those 13 pages soon. So, because I want to read what the judge thinks of these two idiots, and sort of the conclusions that he came to and why they have to reconvene or issue a summons back to Joe. I'm just interested to see what the hell's going on with this case. So if anyone out there can send me that information, feel free to DM me or hit me up at bigeasylou@gmail. Lou spelled L-U. Because I am so curious to see what the judge thinks about this, what he's being sued for, what kind of contract did they have in place that, he's suing him for $25,000 or less in a municipal court, and somewhere in this exchange, I think there's going to be some really, really funny details. So I'm eager and sort of excited to share that with you guys. So let me real quick just unbookmark that, and then I'll bring this back over. So that's just something interesting. Again, like UAP Mike is this guy who used to be friends with these harassers. They used to be best buddies. He used to partake in the harassment. He's harassed me. He's harassed my fiance. He's harassed everyone in this community. He's an absolute bully. And he's trying to rewrite his role in this whole harassment archive. He's really trying to put himself out there as this good person who's coming out to tell the truth, when he himself has partaked in all of it. And sort of this clip, let's listen to this clip, because I think this is sort of having to do with the same guy, like UAP Mike and this guy here, who I'm trying to remember his name. Yeah, Darren Reed. Darren Reed, again, was part of this like UFO Lou crew harassing, group of idiots. This is a guy who's admitted and apologized to the harassment of me and my friends and my my co-hosts. The thing that he's really known for is having called CPS on somebody's family in the UFO Twitterverse for whatever their reasons were. And this is what this conversation's about. This is Art Levine going back and forth in a UFO Twitter space with Darren Reed about that occasion. And again, like, this is relevant because it's like, these are the guys that I see in spaces, I see now on Discords, who are entering these conversations, and nobody knows this history about these guys. Like, nobody, like, and when they do know the history, they don't hold this history to their feet as fire to kind of shame them out of the community. Like, these are people that have manipulated people. They have, I mean, seriously harassed people, doxed people, stoked the fire of hatred and vitriol towards people who were simply asking questions, whether that be me, whether that be journalists, whether that just be random people on Twitter. They went after them relentlessly. They still do to this day, but there's a breaking up. There's people coming out because I think they see the walls closing in on this group in a lot of different ways. And it's an interesting watch and deconstruct and sort of watching it happen in real time. But it's also kind of disheartening when the very people who participated in this stuff, kind of, especially the ones that are leaving here in the last few months, are getting, in a lot of ways, passes and okays to come back into the community and just start doing the exact same shit all over again, just in a different way and to different people. It's the same shtick. So anyway, let's listen to this clip.
Let's say she was working as a child protection worker, and she said, well, I heard an allegation on a Twitter space, and I'm going to report it to Child Protective Services, let's say to another agency. That person could lose their job because you're not doing any basic fact work or having any context, particularly in the wild west of the internet. And in this community in general, there's often freewheeling charges of pedophilia that's thrown around that comes out of conspiracy world. There are real pedophiles, and then there's conspiracy fueled pedophiles. So it's like if she heard someone in a QAnon space go, hey, Hillary has babies she's raping under the pizza parlor, and then she phoned it in, okay? So since there was no discernment exercise, it was completely irresponsible, and if you knew this person and knew she was taking these actions, then it was your responsibility to inform her of the context. Otherwise, she's basically doing the equivalent of a SWAT call.
Yeah. You know, it's just, it's really dangerous behavior when you call organizations and departments like that simply because you think something might be happening. And the only reason why you came to that conclusion is because the person that you're about to call that department on, you just happen to disagree with their UFO opinion. So therefore, I'm justified in calling Child Protection Services on this person because I want to protect that child. I think they're being abused, and I know because I hear things in the background, or I assume people are or aren't doing things. I don't know, but I'm going to call this department just to make sure, just because that's the responsible thing to do. Meanwhile, you don't know the unintended consequences of doing something like that, especially if you don't know. If you don't know 100% for sure that is actually going on. That could affect somebody's job or possibility of getting employed. that could affect family dynamics. There's so many things that could fuck up just because you disagree with their UFO opinion. It's wild stuff, and it's amazing that again, like, these folks do these things and then they're just brought right back into the fold. And this was something that's really funny too, just sticking to like this UFO hate group or whatever you want to call it. This group of extreme UFO zealot thinkers. I like to refer to them as the prophets of profit. And how they will do anything in the name and the service of Luis Elizondo. And this is just one example of the kind of friends that Luis Elizondo recruits into his little army. This is a guy who goes by the name of Uplifting Tweets. He does artwork for King Milkfart. He's the guy who would behind the scenes make memes for King Milkfart and for UAP Mike and for all sorts of people in this group of sycophants. He's also come out and publicly apologized to me for the things he did to against my fiance, against me, and against other people in the community. And he's admitted to these things. And and over this last month, he was, I guess, Luis Elizondo has passes to Busch Gardens. And so now this is one of his meeting spots to invite the weirdos that he doesn't want to invite to Wyoming. This is the real fringe. These are like the Rob Heatherleys and the Uplifting Tweets and, just these fringe, guys who are extreme for him. This guy Sectanic, who we'll talk about in a second too. Man, what a weird ass. So he meets Lou Elizondo at Busch Gardens, and it's the greatest day of his life. Just the best thing ever since sliced fucking white bread, right? Oh man, and here is to me the funny. There's another picture with Elizondo, Jennifer Elizondo, this guy Uplifting Tweets and his family, right? And if you look at this family, the first thing I thought of was like, Jesus, dude, like, you're a bunch of fat, pale, just ugly people. And I thought of that because the memes that came out of this guy were concentrating on people's weights, appearance, looks, places of employment. He didn't give a fuck. Throwing all sorts of judgment and shade on groups of people, what they look like, and this is what he looks like, and this is what he's married to. I mean, who the fuck are you? And of course, that's what it looks like behind the scenes of the keyboard warrior who will do and say anything and create anything in the name of defending this stranger. So after this picture's taken, he hops into a Twitter space and just listen to what he has to say. It's like as if he hasn't learned his fucking lessons.
What do we say?
I just want to hop in real quick because I'm cooking dinner for my family. I want to share that all this shit that you're hearing, everyone in here, everything you're hearing is bullshit. It's all just fabricated crap because they all hate Lou and they all hate King Milkfart. I am what you would consider part of this hate group that they call it. And I can tell you it's all false. Every
What's
bit of it.
fabricated?
We are all fucking pissants in relation to how big this topic is. And none of this shit fucking matters. What you're seeing is two pissed off motherfuckers because KMF own them. Gary Nolan owned them. Lou Elizondo fucking owned them. So suck a dick. I'm going to go celebrate this refollow.
Go
Enjoy
have
your
fun.
night.
Go have fun.
How'd you enjoy, bro?
So, yep, that's his response to his own admissions. None of that is fabricated. You did that shit. You did that stuff. We're all piss ants. Like, he just got information that he thinks makes his place in all of our places in the universe infinitely smaller. So much so that the harassment, the fucking chaos, the hurt, the pain, the fear that this guy caused and helped facilitate and stir up simply because you would disagree with his deity or simply question his God. It's insane. And that little, just that, listen to, like, how angry and you could see, and I've been listening and learning and researching a lot about Christopher Gray. You could see how maybe a guy like this who isn't married, who doesn't have kids, might go into a really dangerous, destructive place.
Everything you're hearing is bullshit. It's all just fabricated crap because they all hate Lou and they all hate King Milk Fart. I am what you would
What's
consider part of
fabricated?
this hate group that they call it. And I can tell you it's all false. Every
What's
bit of
fabricated?
it. We are all fucking pissants in relation to how big this topic is. And none of this shit fucking matters. What you're seeing is two pissed off motherfuckers because KMF owned them. Gary Nolan owned them. Lou Elizondo fucking owned them. So suck a dick. I'm going to go celebrate this refollow.
Go
Enjoy
have
your
fun.
night.
Go.
That's who Lou Elizondo is buddying up with and taking pictures with at Busch Gardens. That's who he encourages behind the scenes. That's who he follows. These are the accounts that he follows. This is the same people who work with Jeremy Corbell. It's all a tight circle of fucking misfits. And people like this feel like they're on the inside. They're chosen. They're special. They're special because they simply get to be in the presence of this guy. It's a fucking cult. You're in a fucking cult. This is interesting too. You know, after this Busch Gardens picture, I mean, all sorts of shit started coming out. All sorts of shit. But this is one of them right here. So, UFO Joe has, like, it's funny. He gets to have his cake and eat it too. He gets to call Lou Elizondo a liar and get the backing and the approval of George Knapp. He gets to call this guy who's clearly lying, but won't call out the lying and the grifting and the death switches, which we'll get to in a little bit on this guy. It's fucking ludicrous, but that's UFO Twitter. That's just the way it is. So Average Chris writes, for all those doubting that faceless bureaucrat was Lou Elizondo's sock puppet account to troll and harass, dox others, including veterans, read the confirmation from UFO Joe himself. Since he was caught, evidence suggesting he's using others to do it for him. Elizondo writes, to both my friends and haters, we can agree to disagree, but the threat of violence and harassment is not acceptable on any level. Contrary to conspiracy theories, I don't condone this behavior, even though he follows all the people that do it. I don't condone this behavior directed at anyone. If disclosure fails, it's because the community has eaten itself. So I ask all of you to please engage in healthy discourse and don't allow emotions to dictate actions on all sides. It's just so adorable saying that coming from the people that you follow and support, and the things that you refuse to address, the lies that you refuse to address, and the things that you've said that you refuse to address. Instead, pass the blame on to other people as scapegoats. Joe wrote, I agree wholeheartedly. Hopefully Lou learned his lesson about using sock puppet accounts to go after people anonymously, including one veteran. I mostly blew off the faceless bureaucrat stuff back when that was happening. Back when he was talking shit about me and my show. That was my show. My show that fucking revealed that Lou Elizondo was faceless bureaucrat. And it was people like UFO Joe that were using all of their influence publicly and behind the scenes to bash the shit out of me, my show, and what we revealed as bullshit. Here we are 2 years later, and now he's finally caught up. The investigative journalist, the guy who's sharp as a tack, the young gun of ufology, took 2 fucking years to catch up to the very simple fact that Lou Elizondo had sock puppet accounts that engaged in enraging the community to attack journalists, podcasters, normal everyday fucking people, friends of his that backstabbed him or just simply started asking questions. You ignored us. You ignored me. After we begged you to please listen to what we're saying. Quit being emotional about it. This is fucked up. The answer that we got to that question is fucked up. And if you can't see that, that's on you. And it took this guy 2 years to catch up. That's how good of an investigator he is. Like, give me a fucking break, Joe. Give me a break, dude. 2 years, way too late. 6 months. Maybe. But if you walked away from our interview with Lou Elizondo going, that's not a big deal, I don't care, or it's not true, you weren't either listening or you were refusing to accept what was happening right in front of your face because you're in a fucking cult. Pretty simple as that. It really, really is. And then the turnaround and shill for guys like George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. It's a joke. This is Darcy Weir. Okay, like Darcy Weir, who pulls a lot of strings and gets interviews for people behind the scenes with Lou Elizondo. This is a guy who tried to get me to track down a Billy Carson, someone who got scammed by Billy Carson. You know, and it was like leading up to this conversation, we were having conversations behind the scenes, and I would ask him really simple questions, and he'd get so frustrated, you know, because he was doing this documentary on Tim Gallaudet, and I'm like, why are you doing a documentary on a guy who hasn't seen anything? Everything that he's putting on the table is secondhand knowledge. and stuff that he believes. And what do you think about him putting his children on Discovery Channel Plus or Travel Channel, whatever the hell it is, to, you know, expose his wife and children to a UFO ghost hunting show? Like, no answers for that. But he's like this, he's just, again, one of these guys, these filmmakers who I think in a lot of ways tell or have the ear of Lou Elizondo on who and who not to interview with. And yeah, anyway, let's listen to this clip because this is really interesting.
Look, I don't know Lou Elizondo in any way, and
that's a lie.
I can't speak to any of these grievances that these people are having, but or you're having, or the other guys on the other side that are pissed off that you guys are having grievances. But like, if you look at life as sit. If you look at life as like, no.
Dog knows. The dogs always know.
Dog is fucking me up here. Sorry. If you look at life as somewhat a little bit different from high school after you leave high school, you know, there's people you're going to meet in high school and you're going to see them later on in life. And yeah, they could have crushed it in business or made a bunch of dumb UFO documentaries. But they're still the same people, right? So you get people that you meet in like high school, like Lou Elizondo, right? That goes from being a high school student to doing counterintelligence stuff and then talking about UFOs. And, you know, probably in high school, you wouldn't want to fuck with him either. And he might get vengeance on you if you fuck with him, right? And like,
how do you think Lou Elizondo is going to get vengeance on me, Darcy Weir?
No, I'm not. No. Don't misconstrue that. I'm not saying. I'm saying, dude. I'm not saying you. I'm saying.
What are you saying?
My dog's biting my hand. I'm literally saying.
The dogs know. The dogs know.
The dogs know.
I want to snuggle the dog.
Like, what kind of fucking statement is that? It's just, you know, like, I don't even know what the analogy is. Like, you know, people in high school who just don't change. Well, you know, it sounds like Lou Elizondo hasn't changed since high school, and that's a scary thought. Like, if there's no mental growth since high school, if you're the same dumb bully that you were in high school as an adult, why is that admirable? And why is that not a big deal? And why is that used as an excuse to terrorize people? And this idea that Darcy Weir doesn't know Lou Elizondo, that is absolute bullshit. That is bullshit. Like, we've got a confession from that bodyguard that's been wandering around giving stupid stories, but he's said that Darcy Weir called him and left him a message basically saying, hey, I could get you in touch with Lou Elizondo. I know him. So that's a lie.
He's kind of like a mix between a Labradoodle and a Jack Russell. So he's really
Let's
weird.
get this wrapped up here with Panda, and then I just
No. Let me just finish what I'm saying. Sorry. Right. What I'm saying is, like, are you surprised that people have a certain type of human nature? I'm not dismissing or accusing Lou of actually carrying out attacks on his detractors or whatever, but you see it all the time. Like, everybody, you know, kind of acts like this. So I'm not, all I'm saying is, like, if you know for sure that this guy went after people that were fucking with him, and and you think he's like a COINTEL guy. I'm just curious, like if there's anywhere in your head that you would like forgive him or just like see him as a human being.
What?
All right,
It's
and
beautiful
Panda,
delivery,
after your
Darcy,
response,
and I
then
love
we'll-
hearing that coming from.
Yeah, it's hypocritical, man. It really is. And here's an example. I mean, like, this is Jeremy McGowan, basically telling Elizondo to eat a bag of dicks. But again, Elizondo puts out this statement, saying how, contrary to conspiracy theories, I don't condone this behavior. Anyone directed at anyone if disclosure fails, it's because the community has eaten itself. And then from the faceless bureaucrat account, he's writing things like, Jeremy is definitely not an ally and is not honest. I hate to speak bad about a fellow veteran, but he's no friend, in all caps. He is now reaping what he sowed. He is a liar and manipulator. Like, it's right in front of your face, and it's not sexy, it's not aliens, it's nothing, extraordinary. It's just a bunch of dumb assholes pulling your fucking legs in every which way they can. This was really interesting here. So over this time that I've been missing, Michelle Stratton has come out and apparently she is the administrator of the chat of one of the administrators of the Skinwalker Ranch website, and she's an administrator on the chat as well. And in this chat, she confesses that she should have never trust Luis Elizondo. And I'm going to read this exchange here for you, but this was posted by Stephen Greenstreet, and this is a conversation that Manny, Area 503, had with her on this Discord. Let's see here, let's see. They were doing a live viewing of Manny's documentary, Who's Lou? And so Michelle writes in this Discord, or in this message board, he's already lied, just so you all know. For transparency, I regret ever telling people to trust Lou. As much as I can, at times, I may have just, I may have to just use or things like that. I don't know, that's weird. If you want to review the documents presented, she shares a link of the Who's Lou movie. She shares a link of the Who's Lou movie, which tells me this is the wife of Jay Stratton. Okay, she's sharing the link of Manny's documentary, a documentary that Luis Elizondo absolutely hated. It was a documentary that guys like Thomas Fessler were recruiting other filmmakers and people like me and James Fox to put copyright strikes against this documentary, which I did not do at the time, but James Fox did, and all these other dickheads did, and guess what? They lost the copyright strike, because guess what? It was fair use, like I said at the time. So it's just interesting that she's sharing this doc. She then goes on to say, I could stream it, but I might have to miss some of the stop points. Nope, it's just nope, not the director of ATIP, because ATIP was not a real program. She's like, ATIP was not a real program. Ah, yes, the slides that Jay created, Mellon took and altered to say ATIP instead of the real info. Mellon took and altered to say ATIP instead of the real info. So she's accusing Christopher Mellon of altering paperwork to make up a program called ATIP. So these rumors that we heard that ATIP was nothing more than a weekend hobby of Luis Elizondo that he just made up and used as like this program that he was in charge of when he first publicly came out is bullshit. And Mellon helped him create it. Like, this page was about fiscal year 2010. And his name was on it because he gave a piece of info. Did he allow it to be misrepresented, or was he the source of the info? The letter. Lou himself. So they're asking her about the Harry Reid letter. And she's like, the letter. Lou himself wrote that letter and got Reid to sign it. So she's confirming here that letter that is always used as confirmation that Luis Elizondo was in charge of ATIP. And again, we've heard it over and over and over and over so many times that letter was not written by staffers or Harry Reid, and that it was just signed. And he was friends with Lou Elizondo. So I don't think it's that big of an ask to get that senator to sign, hey, can you just sign this so I can show this as verification that I was in charge of ATIP? And then when he writes his book, he was recruited into ATIP, not in charge of it. It changed significantly. She goes on to write, his speech at TTSA launch was bullshit. Tom wasn't comfortable physically in a suit and with the stuff he had to say about Lou. Like, wow. Like, Tom wasn't comfortable with saying the stuff about Lou. I wonder what she means by that specifically. She goes on to write, not exactly true. Go, as in Susan Go, put out that statement against the information provided by the OCA. They weren't leaked. Lou burned them to a CD and handed them to Chris. So OCA means Original Classifying Authority. And she writes, he was on a contractor working for the Space Force. Danny Sheehan told everyone in a podcast, Space Force got a bunch of hate mail over it. They fired him for the contract. Wow. I remember that. And that was my thing too, because we learned that he was an employee of Space Force. And I remember hitting up the Space Force and being like, hey, what do you think of your employee manipulating people in the UFO community? Why is the Space Force have employees manipulating people in the UFO community? And now we hear from Michelle Stratton that he got fired over how much heat the Space Force got because of that. She goes on to write, I hate to say it, but I truly regret having told people all these years to believe him. So much of what he's done to this topic is going to really hurt people and the topic. He's slick and good with words. He lied to my face so many times and it was believable, but he feels like a used car salesman in person when you think back on it. And that's the exact same story that we got from Max Moskovich. Almost literally the exact same thing. The idea that he's this used car salesman. And, you know, when Max was calling out the dojos on his, like the dojo tattoos on his arm, the Tibetan dojos that Max trained at. And Max was like, do you know this sensei or this guy? And he describes Lou Elizondo's face going pale. Because he knew nothing. He knew nothing about the tattoos on his arms. It's dude, he, like, even the tattoos on his body are lies. Think about that. Like, really think about that. I don't want to talk about Eric Davis. Okay, so this was something that was really cool that I wanted to chat about. Check this out. I don't know if this music is... Okay, so this is for my podcast audience. This came from the Science Girl account on Twitter and writes, engineer Moju Zhao has developed transformative aerial robots called Dragon. Watch its mid-flight skills here. And so the best way I could describe this is it looks like a drone. It looks like a snake, but it's got little drone motors, and it can detach and attach itself to another version of itself to create really interesting things that could become very useful tools in emergency situations or even space flight, I would imagine. But this is again, just if we see this at a commercial level, that means that somewhere it is possible, more than likely, that the military has a version of this that is incredibly more advanced and that they've been working with for a while. But check this out. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like God, dude, I'm trying to think of exactly what this thing looks like. I mean, it could look like a spider, it could look like a bug, or it could look like a flying snake, and it could twirl itself and maneuver itself in and out of complicated scenarios. It could crawl on the ground if you wanted to and then lift up. It could push things depending. And this was really cool. Like they've got it where it's, hooked itself to a valve, and it's twisting the valve to shut off the steam in this open valve. So you can imagine a scenario where you send this thing into like a nuclear facility to turn valves so nobody gets hurt. I mean, and it's doing it, mid-flight, and it's transforming in real time. I mean, it's really cool. It's like a heavy-duty Erector set drone. I mean, just imagine this thing, a version of this thing flying through the sky, and you've never seen one of these, and you're on a military base. And again, this is Chinese technology. So what if the Chinese have flown things like this over our nuclear facilities or training areas, and a pilot saw this? That's a UFO. It looks fucking alien to me. Especially if you're far away from it. Like, I don't know. You know me. I love that kind of shit. This was really interesting, and I had to talk about it. So Stephen Greenstreet, I think, has finally just hit the top of the his bullshit sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Limit. Like he's hit his limit with Marieke van Rennenkamp. I saw this photo a couple of years ago, and I've got the unredacted version of this photo. It's just a really wonderful reminder that Marieke van Rennenkamp worked at the Department of Defense. He worked at the Department of Defense, and now he's this UFO journalist out of nowhere. The Department of Defense badge on Marieke van Rennenkamp, who's been promoting the UFO story over the last few years on various mainstream formats. Rennenkamp posted this image of himself back in 2022. He was listed as an advanced officer for the Office Secretary of Defense during the Obama administration. He began writing almost exclusively about UFOs for mainstream media outlets in 2021, immediately following his report in the War Zone Wire about a swarm of drones that harassed the U.S. Navy off the California coast in 2019. Navy sources have told me these drones that were only 15 miles off California were Chinese. 2 weeks later, one of Marieke's first UFO articles was titled UFOs, Probably Not Secret Chinese Planes. Like this, and this is also the biggest and loudest voice against Mick West on online. Period. Full stop. And he's been I've got the clip on my channel of Marieke's own expert disagreeing with him, and he continues and persists. And you want to talk about like looking at someone that is possibly paid to do this, he would be at the top of my list. Like I genuinely think and believe this man could easily be being paid just because of his resume, where he was versus what he's doing now, and the turn in his writing that came like he said in 2021, where now all he does is write about UFOs and imply and infer that these things are really happening, when he's got the intelligence and the connections to know that what he's pushing is bullshit. He is the direct connection and point person to people at the Hill when it comes to UFOs. He appeared many times on the Hill with Sager and Jetty, who's a big UFO idiot and proponent. So it's just something, especially in this area, just it reeks of just nonsense. So I just want, again, it's just a friendly reminder: don't trust this son of a bitch. I mean, seriously, don't trust that son of a bitch. It's not worth your time. All right. So let's see here. All right, that's that. Oh, this was cool. Manny503 wrote on his Twitter account, I ran the samples of Elizondo's letter along with other known samples of Harry Reid's signature through a quick ChatGPT analysis, which concluded that it was not authentic. Oh, man. Ay, ay, ay. So it looks like you've unloaded an image of a letter signed by Harry Reid, the former United States Senate Majority Leader. The letter is dated April 26, 2021, and mentions the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The letter acknowledges Luis Elizondo's involvement and leadership in ATIP. If you need more detailed information or analysis of this letter, feel free to ask. Please analyze the signatures, he asks. Moving from left to right and top to bottom, please number the signatures as 1 through 8, listing all of the signatures except number 2. As a reference, please tell me if you think number 2 was signed by the same person. Please give me detailed responses as to why or why not. Please also try to tell me which other number signature 2 most closely matches. Also, please also analyze each letter in the signature and tell me which letter number 2 matches with the same samples. And then the ChatGPT writes back, so moving from left to right, top to bottom, the signatures are numbered as follows. Top row, first column, signature 1. Top row, second column, signature 2. Top row, third column, signature 3. Top row, first column, signature 4. Top row, second column, signature 5. Top row, third column, signature 6. And third row, first column, signature 7. Third row, second column, signature 8. Signature 2 is the one in question. Let's compare it with the other signatures, 1 through 8, to determine whether it was signed by the same person. General observations: consistency of style. The signature are all cursive with a flowing typical or style typical of a practice signature. Angle and slant. Most signatures exhibit a slight rightward slant to commence the trailing cursive writing. Pressure and thickness. Thickness of the line signature suggests varying pressures applied during writing. Letter formation. The formation of individual letters, particularly distinct loops in these certain letters. Detailed analysis of signature 2. Hairy analysis. Signature 2 has a less pronounced loop at the top of the H compared to the others, particularly signature 1 and signature 5, where the loop is more rounded and prominent. Signature 2 appears to be more angular. So yeah, I mean, basically, ChatGPT is coming back and going, yeah, I feel like it's not authentic. So, take that for what you will. This was probably one of my favorite clips that I've heard in a while, and I hope people keep asking Elon this, because especially people like Tucker Carlson. So maybe Tucker Carlson will stop entertaining this stupidity. But this was just such a great response to this question. So let's take a listen to this. Again, let's put up our fair use banner. Fair use. This is transformative work. We are educating the public on the clip that we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and allowable by law.
When you say, what are the aliens?
Where are the aliens? Like, why don't we see them? A lot of people think we see aliens, but I've not seen any evidence of aliens. We've got 6,000 satellites in orbit, and not once have we had to maneuver around an alien spacecraft.
Right.
6,000 satellites in orbit, and not once have they had to move around an alien spacecraft. Not once. Hundreds and hundreds of launches. Not one of their camera systems have ever caught anything anomalous. It's a great point.
But on this Earth, the U.S. military's had to do a lot of maneuvering around objects they can't explain.
Well, unidentified flying objects is one thing, but there's always a bunch of classified programs that are underway of new aircraft and new missiles and things. So that are classified even within the military. So it's only if you have the top secret compartmented clearance, would you know about this new program? So then some pilot sees something moving fast and says, "Hey, I saw a UFO." I'm like, "Yeah, that was actually a new weapons program, but we can't tell you that."
Right. And again, this is a guy who's dealing in contracts with the government all the time, who's flying through their airspace constantly. And he's making great points here. And if there's anyone who just does not give a fuck, it'd be him. I think he'd say something if he saw something, without a doubt.
But if you can guarantee that the split second I see any evidence of aliens, I will immediately post that on the X platform. And it'll probably be our #1 post of all time.
That'll be your biggest day,
yes,
for sure.
Exactly. I mean, that is the incentive right there to tell people. It will be the biggest post of all time. You will be the person that ushers in catastrophic disclosure. At this point, it's the only kind of disclosure that should be acceptable, if it's even possible. In which I don't think there is any evidence that will ever give people, quote, catastrophic disclosure. And this is coming from the guy who spends more time looking and talking about space than probably anyone on the planet. I don't care how you feel about him personally. I think he's kind of a weird ass. But I also think he's a useful human. And I also do think that he wouldn't hide or lie about something that he should have seen evidence for by now. All right, this was I haven't listened to this one, but it was posted by Manny503, and he writes, "I have so many questions," and this is a clip from Phenomicon. So let's listen to this.
Or to create a warp drive or a wormhole or something to allow you to go vast distances through space that a UFO would have to do. They'd have to have a material that would allow you to actually change how electricity, magnetism, and gravity work in that local area of space around the spaceship, or maybe in the hull of the spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
And mathematically and scientifically, we only understand it theoretically. We haven't ever built one, but we call it a topological insulator. Or that would be made of a thing called a metamaterial. It's a brand new science. People are just learning that we can build a special material that would allow us to go faster than the speed of light. Well, the problem is We have only been able to create little bitty pieces of it in the lab at super, super, super cold temperatures. But recently, a scientist who won a Nobel Prize in laser optics was looking for room temperature topological insulators, and he found one. And it's in a compound called bovine serum albumin. Now, what I just said was cow blood.
Oh, you hear the crowd? Bovine cellular alphamide. Basically, it's cow blood. And now he's just confirmed for everyone in that room who believes people like Linda Moulton Howe and alien abductions and cattle abductions and cattle mutilations. He's just now theoretically explained through his stupidity. And I just love, he's a fucking salesman. And here's the issue too. This is Team Stratton. This is the guy that's on Stratton's side. So it's like it's like as if Sesame Street split into two gangs and you've got Muppets on both sides calling each other out on the hands shoved up their backside. It is absolutely wild. I gotta listen to that second part again because it's just it is peak fucking stupidity.
It's in a compound called bovine serum albumin. Now, what I just said was cow blood. So, what if
the fucking reaction from the crowd is just so sad? That those are adults. Those are fully formed, functioning, tax-paying adults. And you wonder why the only two choices in American politics are Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, that we've been pigeonholed into these two shit fucking birds, is because we've got rooms all across of America filled to the brim with adults that do this when the rocket scientist, the model rocket scientist tells everyone it's the cow blood that's going to help us make the room temperature superconducting metamaterial that'll help us propel our craft past the speed of light.
albumin. Now, what I just said was cow blood.
Oh my God.
So, what if these aliens are using somehow the cow blood to make their engines go work right? I don't know. I mean, this is.
What if they're using what if the aliens are using the cow blood to make their engines go work right? I mean, I don't know. It's just a theory. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe the cow blood, they stop. I mean, the only problem with that is when they go to other planets that don't have cows, then what? How do they refuel then? Don't worry about that fucking question. Just focus on the cow bovine blood here.
It's speculation, but those are some interesting pieces of data and facts that we can put together to make tell a really interesting story. So it's a great question from an 8-year-old. Really.
That's an 8-year-old that asked him that question. So now you've just sent an 8-year-old down the path of fucking lunacy. And that's why I do this fucking show. And now that 8-year-old is like hearing nothing but claps and adulation. And now all of that 8-year-old's stupid fucking beliefs have just been confirmed by some asshole sitting on stage and a bunch of fucking mentally vulnerable adults clapping it up. This is a fucking cult. It's a fucking cult. Get your head out of your asses. So I haven't gone deep into this whole Schnellenberger piece. I just haven't had the time, but I know he's made an appearance on Rogan. I know that Mick West has already come out and started debunking some of this guy's claims. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit on the next show. And by the way, the next show, I gotta get with him. He's already said yes, but we're gonna get Craft Beard on the show next. Our mental health professional that helped us curate our links below when it comes to alien abductions, hypnotherapy, CE5, all of these things, all the books and sources that you can use to help yourself debunk a lot of these things. He's going to be coming on the show because one of the things that happened when I was away for the last 3 weeks, I was getting a ton of messages in my inbox on Twitter, on my email, through Discord. Hey, what happened to Craft Beard? What happened to Andres? And I was like, I look up his Twitter account and it's gone. He's erased it. And I think a lot of people came to me because it was this show that kind of introduced Andres to the community, and I've loved him. I love him. I think he's great. He's a great friend of this show. We've had some really wonderful back and forths and conversations, and he was for me very valuable because he was willing to engage with the community in a very different and patient way that I just don't have the capacity to do. He was the perfect skeptic to put into the community. And it was also, it's kind of an interesting, unknowingly an experiment to see how long it takes for the community to absolutely drive out a valuable voice that can bring a lot of facts, can bring a lot of science and good health data, and good reading material and good points of view. And you want this kind of person in these discussions to always push back against your belief systems. And he always did it respectfully. He always did it with kid gloves. He was very, very careful and very respectful with everyone. And he just quit. So I had to find out why. What the hell happened? And so we're going to talk about it with him. Hopefully next show, which I hope will be Friday. So far, it's lining up. By the way, guys, the schedule might change here. So far, it looks like it's going to stay the same for at least a little while. But I've started a new job. I'm also working on a really big project right now. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, but I will try and stay to Monday and Friday as best I can. So I want to say that real quick. And we're halfway through the show. If you haven't hit the like button on the show yet, please do me a favor. Smash that like button so this common sense gets out to the masses a little more, or at least circulated to people within the UFO community. There's a lot of folks who find this show who end up appreciating it. And we do help people get out of the rabbit hole. So yeah, sharing the show, hitting the like button always helps drive, that outcome. So yeah. So we'll be talking about that stuff. But this is a clip of this guy Michael Schnellenberger sharing a UFO video that Mick West says is very obviously a Chinese lantern. He's like, no, that's not the only thing in this episode, but it does perhaps indicate a little over-agreement to believe. Where's the beef? And again, yeah, every time we have a quote massive release or something groundbreaking or ground shaking, literally the next day we find out, oh, this guy believes Chinese lanterns are UFOs. There's a belief system there. There's a pre-existing a belief system that is being used when discerning UFO information. And that belief system it just retards their ability to think clearly. It's happening with Jesse Michaels. It's happening with Bryce Zabel. It's happening. I think Ross Coulthard is just doing it on purpose at this point. It's happening with all sorts of people within this community where their belief system going into it just completely offsets their common sense. And so, yeah, let's take a listen to this guy who dropped this big story here in the last month. Let's listen to him tell Joe Rogan that Chinese lanterns are alien spaceships.
I think it's a lantern.
It's a video? Let's see.
Yeah, maybe it's a lantern, but
oh, wow.
It does move weird. It didn't have the like a paper around.
Yo, that's moving pretty quick. Whoa, that's weird looking.
It didn't have any like paper.
Clearly, it is clearly a lantern. It's got an outline like when it turns, and I mean, this thing is clearly a Chinese lantern, and these two idiots are like, "Whoa, that's weird."
Zoom.
I had a friend just send me a similar video from Ohio where
that's weird. And again, keep in mind, like the video they're looking at is on the internet. It's been compressed. God knows how many times. Like it's degraded. It's going to be like there's going to be missing and manipulated data in this clip.
Mom took and thought it was some orbs flying over, and it looked honestly weirder than this. And then he found out a couple hours later it was a memorial service. There's a bunch of lanterns that got left up.
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
I'm not saying it's not
hard.
that.
It's hard to look at it because you've got it zoomed in. Because I'm not getting a perspective of how quickly it's actually moving. It does look weird, but it also looks like how it would look like it was fire in one of those. Well, now it's moving very strange.
That's why I just feel like it's the fire and maybe wind blowing.
Because it's wind.
Was it a windy day?
No,
it
was not windy. At all.
No, it's not windy at all. There's always wind. Okay, and even the slightest, most mundane of breezes will push a Chinese lantern in extreme ways. Gusts of wind, especially when the wind is 200, 300, 400 feet in the sky.
That's fucking weird.
It was weird.
It's definitely weird, but it's not moving supernaturally.
Again, all I'm saying is that it's unidentified.
Drunk aliens. They look hammered. They're not even driving straight.
I mean, also they didn't look big, so I mean, I'm not suggesting there was anybody in there.
Right.
And it wasn't an orb like
the other story seems more interesting.
Orb. Yeah.
The stars moving.
It wasn't like the Mosul orb, another balloon. This was interesting, although I think we've covered this before. But it's always just fun to replay it. This is Brian Bender admitting that he was misled on ATIP and that he feels like he was purposefully misled. And again, just underlying what Michelle Stratton said, and what other people have said about ATIP, like it becomes clearer and clearer by the day. And I said in a space a couple days ago, that it seems like Luis Elizondo has finally painted the first part that encloses him into a corner, where he's painted himself into a corner. He's got room to navigate in this corner, but as he continues to paint, the corner gets smaller, 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 and smaller. And I think it's at some point Elizondo's voice will be completely irrelevant in the UFO discussion, but in the UFO community. But by then it'll be too late. He'll get his movie, he'll get his TV show or whatever the fuck else that comes out of this book. He'll get it. But he'll be not looked at favorably, I think, within the UFO community. And then you're going to have the Jay Stratton side of this. I think this corner that he's painted himself in is, again, just getting smaller by the day. But it's, again, moments like this, and, now we can kind of really piece these things together, over the last almost 8 years now that, this story's been pushed and told. We now have a really large sample size of behavior, and we've got a really large sample size of confessions and people coming out of the woodworks and going, hey, I worked here, or I did this with this guy, or I know this person. And yeah, everything you're hearing, seeing, and reading about him being an asshole is true.
When I say I don't think there's evidence of these claims, we don't know what these secret programs were. We don't know where they were run. We don't know how they were hidden. Now, granted, they could all be secret, deeply classified, and so that's why we don't know. But I also think we have to consider that one of the most common things humans do, you and I do it probably all the time in our daily lives, is play the game of telephone, which is I talk to somebody who knows my brother-in-law, who works in the secret agency, who saw the alien bodies at Area 51. I have found in my reporting and getting to know some of the leading people, particularly former government officials who really believe this, who again will say, I never saw it myself, that they have fallen victim to a little bit of a game of telephone that has gone on for decades. Sort of the water cooler talk, even at the CIA or at the Pentagon, where people hear these stories and they hear them from people that are quite credible. I mean, they have security clearances, they're entrusted with our nation's secrets. But, I do think there is an element of this, of sort of this echo chamber, if you will, that this is true and it's always been true and it's always been hidden. And I talk to the people who know about it, but yet we still haven't seen the goods. And, and people say, well, if it's secret, why would we see the goods, right? How would the government, bring itself to ever let us know? And my rejoinder to that is we get a lot of secrets that get leaked out of the government, tons of them, to the point where they put people in jail for the rest of their lives for leaking stuff. So if, there was this grand conspiracy to hide evidence, real evidence of alien life, why have we not been able to figure it out? And why haven't we been able to see the evidence? I'm not ruling out that it's possible that has happened. Those programs did exist. There was a UFO crash. I'm just saying I'm just not convinced yet that that's the case, even though there's this whole sort of cultural phenomenon surrounding this that almost takes it as gospel. We watch a lot of Hollywood movies that underscore that. And I think, it's a cultural issue as much as it is sort of,
got it. It's a cultural issue. Right? It's a national security issue. And here he is sitting on the board and an advisor to Americans for Safe Aerospace. Gee, what is a journalist doing on an advisory board that is lobbying the government for taxpayer dollars to study nonsense? Look who else is on there. Jay Stratton, Tim Gallaudet, Chris Mellon, Alex Dietrich, whose husband was part of not Arrow, but God, which incarnation of ATIP, Arrow, OSAP, what was I'm forgetting one, whatever her husband was a part of. So she's got a husband who's a full-blown UFO believer, and so is she. And, again, just more circle jerk stuff, man. More circle jerk stuff. Advisors and witness program, unreal. Advisors and pilots. It's like, dude, there's no a journalist should have no business sitting, especially after saying what he just said in the clip that I played. It's just like, dude, how are you separating yourself from this game of telephone when you're sitting on the board with the assholes holding both ends of the telephone? Like, you're in the middle, buddy. It just, again, it makes no sense. Makes no sense. Do we want to hear that? Oh, here's another. This was. Man, I don't even know if I want to play this guy for this long. I don't. He's not worth it. But if you want to hear it, this King Milford Harassment Archive has got this satanic jerk off who appeared on the Travel Channel Mitch Horowitz show about UFOs, where him and Rebel Chrissy Newton, the rebelliously curious propaganda pusher from the Debrief, her TV show, and Mitch Horowitz show. This guy was one of the witnesses that came on to the show, who they determined his UFO encounter was in fact a real one. And then you do research on this guy. He's friends with Lou Elizondo. He's also writes music for the Discovery Channel and other TV shows. He's like a composer for spooky television shows, and his personal shitty music that he puts on Spotify as like a rock star is like some satanic death metal cult, terrible to the ears, not worth listening to on any level kind of music. But he's really good friends with Lou Elizondo. He's the perfect spokesperson and cult member and bootlicker that Lou Elizondo loves. I'm not sure if this picture with him was also taken at Busch Gardens, but the satanic guy is one of these fucking cult members who will tell you in a space to go fuck yourself or suck a dick, or I will do anything in the name of Lou Elizondo. You guys are just a bunch of fucking losers, shit like that. He's again, will do and say anything for that guy. There's so many other things to talk about. I'm not going to get to all of them, obviously, because we've only got a 2-hour show. I will always make room for Cosmic Judas. This was just an amazing clip. We got, let's go back, Danny Sheehan, Linda Moulton Howe, Richard Dolan, Steve Bassett. Yeah, I can't remember this jerk's name.
About a whistleblower revealing secrets,
the Hertax,
not secrets, that
the husband and wife couple,
possession of the U.S. government, and he has come out due to a new law that allows whistleblowers to break their NDAs, and this is historic.
Yeah, get it, guys. You guys get it. Get it, Sheehan. This was really funny. I have to mention this really quickly too. This is basically ufology in a nutshell, and kind of how idiotic ufology can be. This is Alien Girl, Good Morning UFO, Nikki Starchild. She can't decide what person she is. She writes, Charles Hall, who worked with tall whites, is now talking with 7 exclamation points. She writes, so cool to be part of this magic. I'm in the back of the room. That is the height of your existence. Being in the back of a room of a guy who says he's working with tall white aliens. Okay, have fun. Have fun with that. Enjoy that. Okay, so let's spend the last half hour having some fun and lambasting the absolute fucking cacophony of nonsense and bullshit and grifting and proselytizing and prophetizing off of gullible, mentally ill adults. I give you Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer Corbell and this week's episode of Weaponized, which was a high noon drop on October 14th, which was last Tuesday. And he writes, we have never released a Weaponized episode more important to me personally than this one. Tomorrow, Tuesday, high noon, tune in. And this is the promo for the high noon drop. And I got to preface this with saying, If you are not sick of this guy's bullshit by now, you are a sucker of gargantuan proportions. But let's listen to this. Listen to this shit.
In this week's episode of Weaponized,
let's say there's a document that has been referenced in some reports.
Michael Schellenberger. Let's say there's a document being referenced in some reports. So this is the document that Schellenberger's putting out. Okay. Now I'm starting to see. New government whistleblower reveals for the first time the name of an unacknowledged special access program for unidentified aerial phenomena. This is the immaculate constellation that I've heard so much about. Okay, so let's say there's a document out there. Why don't you just say there is a document out there?
Has said there's a 20-something page document.
Let's say there's a document.
Let's be honest with our audience.
I love this. Let's say there's a document. Hey, let's say there's a document. You know what? Let's be honest with our audience. Let's be honest with our audience. Let's just say there is a document. What the fuck are you guys doing?
You have been exposed to the entirety of the document. Is that correct?
All right. Yeah, I've seen it.
All right, fuck it. Sure, why not? I've seen it. It exists. It's real. All right, fuck it. Let's put the cards on the table. Let's be honest with our audience.
From the very get-go, we have been in the know that we have been trying to exploit derivative technologies of UAP. Is that factual from where you're sitting?
Yeah.
Okay. I am.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this document proves that we've been extracting alien technology. Is that factually correct? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. What else?
Directly aware of the totality.
Listen to this part. This part is really funny to me.
Sitting.
Yeah.
Okay. I am directly aware of the totality of this report and information being in person given to certain members. I'm not saying.
I know the totality of the weight of this document has been given to certain members. Listen to what he says.
Of Congress or Senate, certain members, and that I was present member being in person given to certain members. I'm not saying of Congress or Senate, certain members, and that I was present.
Now that
he just said that this information was given to certain members, not of Congress or the Senate, but certain members, and I saw it. Okay. Go on.
It's out. How can it possibly, how can anyone hope to quash the story?
I love it. I love George is like, well, now that information, now that very vague, very undescriptive information is out there, how does anyone expect to squash this story? How are we going to keep a lid on this, Jeremy?
Okay, I need to crack a beer.
Okay, why?
Because we're right now. You have now brought up.
That's where it was.
Risk
leading.
and threats.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've now brought up risks and threats. Did he?
Crack a beer. Because
is that what he did? Did he bring up risks and threats?
How can anyone hope to quash the story?
How can anyone hope to quash the story? I didn't hear anything about risks or threats there.
Okay, I need to crack a beer. Because
just like every professional journalist does when they're revealing really important information, they crack open a beer. But right before they write the article or go on CNN, or when they're on CNN, oh man, we've got some big news. Hold on a second. Let me crack open this fucking tall boy and take a swig before I give you this information. Real professional. No, it's fucking really good. Really good stuff. I see your mentor in journalism has taught you well.
Right now, you have now brought up
That's where it was
risk
leading.
and threats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's where it was leading to as the journalist swigs his beer. Boy, these guys. What time of day is this? Is this at night? I would love this if this was 10 o'clock in the morning. It looks like 10 o'clock in the morning. It looks like a morning shoot. I don't know. We can't tell because it's some undescriptive hotel room. I wonder if Jeremy got the bigger room this time. Remember that? Remember when that happened? When these guys were renting out, like, I think it was like a fucking $3,000 a night fucking penthouse in DC for the hearings? Like, dude. And now they're cracking beers to give us news. You dickheads are supposed to be the journalists here. And look at it, cracking open a Bud Light, or fucking Coors Light, drinking out of hotel glasses like real fucking champs.
You are asking me, and I'm sorry, I feel like a robot right now, but I have been on guard
for this is our insurance policy right here.
Okay.
Oh, insurance policy. They've been on guard. So this must be heavy. Something heavy must be about to happen. Something big. They're about to reveal something huge. What is it?
I've been notified of very specific and direct and detailed threats against my life, as well as...
Listen to that sentence again. As he looks up into the sky with a 1,000-yard stare.
This is our insurance policy right here.
Okay. I've been notified of very specific and direct and detailed threats.
I've been notified of very specific, made aware of very detailed, specific threats. I don't know what the hell he said there. Like, it's just like, okay, why can't you just... Why does everything have to be so amplified with Jeremy Corbell in everything that he says?
That's against my life, as well as against anybody who may have information, assets, or contact with additional whistleblowers or individuals who are aware of this program. So much so that I have taken action through law enforcement.
Do you have in place?
Okay, so the threats, specific threats against his life, and he has had to contact law enforcement to make sure that this information doesn't get him killed. That's what he's implying right now, right? And if you don't think that's what he's implying, wait till we get to the next question. And thank you, Kaplizier, for the $6.66 donation. Let's just say that the UAP disclosure was ejaculate constellation and George take Knapp, the UFO report, aka Element 115. He would crack a beer too. Heineken only. I love it. I'm right there with you, man. But just in case you were wondering if what they were saying wasn't clear, let's double down.
What you might call a dead switch, a system.
Oh, wait, what's that, George?
Whereby...
Let's rewind
action through law enforcement.
Do you have in place what you might call a dead switch, a system whereby information about this and other matters that we've collected over the years would be disseminated if something were to happen?
Okay, I will not mince words. We have had in place for quite some time, unrelated to this story of Immaculate Constellation, that if you or I are removed from the equation, that you have absolute, uncontrolled catastrophic disclosure of information.
Absolute, uncontrolled, unadulterated, catastrophic UFO disclosure. If either one of us is killed or taken out of the equation. This is the height of stupidity and cult-like behavior. So we've got to switch on our, like, and this is what's hilarious. Like, George is in his 60s, dude. Maybe even 70s. He's getting up there in age. Like, he's getting to a point where he could just croak over and die. And if that's the case, are we going to get the unadulterated catastrophic disclosure that you guys are describing? Why are you guys waiting to die to release information that would change the world? I think is it because of what you say next?
That would be dangerous to the United States of America.
Oh.
That would be dangerous to global policy.
Got
That would
it.
be dangerous in many ways.
Oh, that would be dangerous in many undescriptive ways. We can't release this because it would be dangerous to America. What? How? How would it be dangerous to America? Unless, of course, it was classified information that you shouldn't have your fucking hands on. Doesn't mean it's alien. It's just information you shouldn't have your hands on and shouldn't be exposing on your weaponized hotel room show.
And it benefits everybody to not fuck with journalists doing their job and sanitizing information prior to the good of public knowledge with no harm to the United States of America, putting it out.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I mean, the things that this guy says to convince his audience that he's some warrior in this disclosure discussion is pretty fucking funny. Let me see something. I want to find a clip. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. Details. What day is it? I think I went in there. Today's. I don't know if I bookmarked it, but there was a really great response that Average Chris had to all of this nonsense. And it's something that he's been talking about for a while now, and that is that he thinks, and I happen to agree with his assessment, that hold on, maybe I might find it, that the information that Jeremy Corbell's been putting out with the last few years, here I found the discussion. I found it, so let's see if we can. Where's it playing though? Okay, there it is. All right, yeah. So this is a discussion.
You were like the end of the interview is like, here you are, here's your coming out party. I obviously want to provide
government, so it's contradict government, so it is you have to enforce. I mean, this is somebody
like especially
that was made clear to me last night.
half of it, but like right, like but yeah, that is a brat site.
But where I disagree on where that line guaranteed at that just like in all area information, but almost conversation than there is from this side of the conversation. Internet, and it's due to
right?
Yeah, Yeah,
He
no,
could be
that
suspicious, right? What you be?
it's bullshit. If that is his brain, that's
read on this jellyfish developments. That's for average Chris, by the way, because he's new up to the panel. VC Smart, what's your read on everything?
Hear you now, Chris. VC. You, as far as my advice, that's really what space is one that's insane. But they actually, but they're dated.
Okay. Can we move past the?
Got a dead man switch.
Yeah,
the
jellyfish
video, because like
intentionally.
Video. So who was it that?
all right. So yeah, so here we go. This is the spot I wanted to get to. So this is average Chris talking about Jeremy Corbell in his data dumps, and before this I was kind of railing about all of the things that Jeremy Corbell has already been caught lying about, you know, including the 29 palms. I mean, the list goes on. Bob Lazar, Navy patents, like we can go on forever really about all of the lies and the bullshit that Jeremy Corbell's put out there. But the timeline of information and the data dumps that he's had, the high noon drops that he's had, listen to this theory from Average Chris, because I think Average Chris is going to end up being right on this one. But again, you know, a government employee who understands the ins and outs of the military and how top secret information works.
I am just now catching up. I came into the space when I guess you were playing the video. So who was it that came forward? Was it the same kid that was deployed out there? Is this a different person?
So the update, the new development is that the UAP task force member, which is basically a Grush equivalent, went on a podcast and said that the Jellyfish UFO is not a UAP, and kind of alluded to like Corbell maybe being in legal trouble for leaking classified information. That's the new development. And
It's Sarah Gam, Chris. Sarah Gam.
Yeah. Okay.
Sarah Gam.
Somebody
somebody made an unauthorized disclosure to him, and that like they didn't include like the analysis, and that she knows like what the object is.
Yeah, so perfect. Okay, so I don't know how long y'all have been seeing my posts. I have been trying to say that. Like, I have been trying to tell people that Corbell eventually is getting in too deep and was potentially leaking classified information. You know, he's not part of the intel world. He doesn't know how that works, right? And that's why he went from documentarian to all of a sudden he called himself a journalist, because he was under the impression there's a such thing as a journalistic protection. But that's actually not true when it comes to classified information when it involves the Department of Defense or anything like that. It doesn't protect the person that's leaking the information. So that's why, and I've been saying, like, if you look at the images since he started weaponized all had images that were from military or intel agency like geospatial imaging, sensor data, like all that stuff came from military, like any kind of operations or video, any kind of data. And that all of them were that specific way. And that was an indicator that somebody potentially from UAPTF, which I have been saying this, like you can go back, I'm sure maybe Panda, I know Lou, we've talked about this, I'm sure. I have been saying that somebody from UAPTF, most likely Grush, because if you look at the timeline, it all lines up because Grush and Corbell have been talking for a while.
And also, Chris, Corbell's insistence of like, I'm a journalist. He's been like harping on the I'm a journalist thing for like a solid year now. I think he's been nervous about getting caught up, you know?
Right. And so what has happened is, Grush, or maybe, I don't know if it it was Stratton, I don't think Stratton would be that dumb. Somebody were leaking those particular so-called UFO videos or imaging to Corbell that he was using for his podcast. And that potentially was an unauthorized disclosure. Now, does that mean it was aliens? Absolutely not. If there is something, something.
Thanks for that, guys. I said I was just apologizing. I think my video is a little choppy right now, so apologies for that. That's all I was saying. So yeah, I did have myself muted. Thanks for telling me.
Anything that could potentially give the adversary some insight into something that we may have or that we had imaging of, then it's probably going to be classified. If it leaks, then that's an unauthorized disclosure. The person doing the leaking is who's going to get in trouble. And with Corbell coming out and, he made threats saying, I think it was on Steve-O's podcast where he was like, they could come after me. I'm ready, talking about the DOD and everything. Like, if you invite them in and you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get yourself caught up. And these are federal charges. This is the real deal. So
Corbell in jail for leaking.
Yeah. So like, if it was Grush that was leaking him the information and then he was turning around and putting that out, for people to consume, it's not that the information it's the sources and methods, not the information. So it's the hardware, it's the software, it's the again, sources and methods of their operations of our defense systems. That's what the military gets really pissed off about if you leak things like that. And it looks like Corbell might have done that, and it sounds like he might be getting himself in some hot water, and he's being defiant about it, which I'm all like, hell yeah. Be as defiant as you can. Dig that hole as deep as you possibly can for yourself, because at the end of it, I'd love to see how it's all exposed within a federal case against you, George Knapp, and all the bullshit that you guys have been spewing for the last, in a case of George Knapp, almost 40 years. So, as far as I'm concerned, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell have lost all credibility. All credibility. And if anyone out there is putting themselves out there to protect their precious George and Jeremy, like UFO Joe Mergia or anyone else out there that are defending these guys at this point, you look so stupid. You just look really, really dumb. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about this stuff, about the Corbell and Knapp drop. I think it's all bullshit. It's obviously this death switch is bullshit. If they have the information, they should release it. The information and the facts should protect them. And again, if they wanted the biggest podcast, it's the same thing with Elon Musk. Like, if any of this was true, he would be the first person to post it on Twitter. And it would be Twitter's most popular post of all time. So, just something to think about. Something to think about, you guys. So that's the show. I'm going to end it a little early because I know we're dropping frames like crazy. Want to say thank you to Jimmy Chakowski for the $5 super chat with and says crack a beer, Lou. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Complizio with another $2.22 donation, our best donator of the channel. Oh my God. They are so full of it, which means of shit. It's so big. Complizio with another dono says Corbell allegedly leaked something to Lear's couch. I don't want to know what he leaked to Lear's couch. I'm not interested. So guys, that's the show. I appreciate everyone missing the show. and reaching out and giving me well wishes and wishing my family all the best. I honestly, it doesn't matter what side of the conversation you're from. I appreciated all the love. I really did. It was very kind, and it helped to get through, you know, a difficult time. So I wanted to say thank you for all of that. We'll be back Friday. We'll be hopefully again talking to Craft Beard and finding out what happened with that. Red Panda, I know you're watching, so if you want to send me the 13 pages of that court case, I'd love to get my hands on that. And if you don't worry about it. I'll find it. I'll get it. I'm close. Either way, I'm going to be reading that lawsuit on this show because I think the comedy in that lawsuit will be absolutely a chef's kiss. I cannot wait to see what the judge thinks of King Milkfart and UAP Mike fighting over God knows what. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Anyway, you guys, thank you to everyone who is here. Complizier for the donos, Simon Fly, Mama's Dope Boy, Pinzer Lou, Humphrey Bogard, Nick D, Mick and Nick, Sue Fork, Panda, I see you, Complizier again, Wild Fools, Craig William. You guys, thank you so damn much for supporting the show as hard as you guys have the last 3 weeks, especially that we've been out of here. Let's see what happens. I know we've got some UFO congressional hearings coming. That should be really fun to look at. And yeah, that's it. You guys, thank you for embarking on this journey with me and helping us raise the bar here at Lou Reviews. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe to the show, tell your friends about it. I've been getting all sorts of comments like, what's up with the cats? And a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a few just incels are really upset that I'm doing pop cats. And I gotta tell you, they're starting to actually get pretty popular. So I still will be doing pop cats. They're great. They're like, again, I love doing them, and also it's just daily content. I'm a content creator. Like, if you don't know why I'm doing it, I'm a content creator. Like, I gotta make up for that fucking money I lost, right? Because I'm not getting paid by anybody to talk about this topic, as you know, some people have said. But anyway, you guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you for being here. Again, thanks for helping us raise the bar. Stay skeptical, stay curious, and thank you once again for hanging out and watching another episode of Lou Reviews. We'll see you Friday, guys. Peace out.